hours in my room, scribbling in my journal and humming a song that had been stuck in my head all week. Finally, I curled up in bed, and cool sheets enfolded me into a deep, dreamless sleep. I was sleeping in my bed when I heard the sound, quiet, like a creak in the floorboards. My mind stirred, but I didn't open my eyes. It wasn't until I felt the cold steel of a knife against my neck. "Don't make a sound," a voice of a man whispered, low and threatening. I froze, my body paralyzed by fear. His hand was rough as he pulled me out of bed, his grip firm as he led me through the dark hallways of my house. My family was just a few feet away, yet I couldn't scream. He'd kill them. He said he would. The night was cold as he took me out into the woods where I met his wife as well. The man, Brian, went on about being a prophet and how I was the chosen one. He was chatting with himself like mad. Meanwhile, Wanda kept chuckling at me matching his madness.
"This is your life now,"
she said, as they chained me to a tree. I was sitting on the cold ground with the chain constricting my ankle tight. I tried to break the chains, but ended uprooting 2 of my fingernails. I screamed in pain as blood sprinkled on my cloth. Wanda's laughter got louder, seeing me struggle like a trapped mouse. They did a weird ritual that night. They mad couple dance around a fire pit. Wanda pulled hair off my skull, tearing a patch of my scalp. I cried and cried, but my tears were nothing to them. Days blurred into nights. Brian and Wanda fed me scraps of food, just enough to keep me alive. Brian would talk endlessly about his delusions, calling me his wife, and insisting that it was God's plan. Wanda watched me constantly, her gaze as sharp as a knife. One day, Brian declared that we had to move. He dressed me in a dirty robe and veil that covered my face. "No one will recognize you now," he said, his voice full of smugness. We walked down suburban streets with Brian, preaching to strangers about his strange beliefs. I was right there, but hidden under the veil. I wanted to scream for help, to tear off the mask and beg somebody to notice me, but Brian's voice echoed in my mind. "If you try to escape, I'll kill your family." Then, one night, I summed up my broken courage. I worked for hours on the chain around my ankle, my fingers raw, my heart pounding at every creak of the links. I finally got it loose, stood up and ran, my feet slipping on uneven ground. A branch snapped beneath me, and that was all it took. Brian was on me in seconds, dragging me back with a snarl. "You'll never leave us!" he screamed. Months passed. I stopped keeping track of time. Winter came and went, and they still had me captive. But I began to see cracks in their control. Wanda was growing paranoid, snapping at Brian and crying more often. Brian seemed distracted, wandering off for longer periods. Then, morning again, Brian declared, "We gotta go to the city." He dressed me in the same dirty robe and veil, and dragged me along as he preached to anyone who could hear him. We were in Sandy, Utah, when a police car slowed as it passed us. My heart pounded as the officers stepped out, their eyes scanning the 3 of us. Brian tried to wave them off, his voice calm but his body tense. One of the officers looked directly at me. "What's your name?" he asked. I hesitated. Could I trust him? What if Brian was right? What if he hurt my family? But then I thought of my mom, my dad, my siblings. They were out there waiting for me. I pulled the veil back, my voice shaking. I spoke.
I am Elizabeth. I want to go home. Please help me.
Stand back! You're under arrest! The officers moved fast, pulling me away from Brian and Wanda, and sitting in the back of the patrol car, tears